This story is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. The quarterly earnings presentation was going well, which, for Nathan Redhawk, meant it was going exactly as planned. The projections lined up, the board members were nodding at appropriate intervals, and his CFO was mid-sentence about Q4 revenue growth. When Nathan's phone buzzed on the polished mahogany table, he glanced down. Unknown number, New York area code. His CFO continued, which positions us favorably for the fiscal. Nathan's phone rang, not buzzed, rang. He never let his phone ring during board meetings. He reached to silence it, adjusting his cufflinks, a nervous habit he'd developed over the past 6 months, when something made him answer instead. Mr. Redhawk? The voice was brisk, professional, hospital efficient. This is Mount Sinai Hospital. Your wife has just given birth prematurely. She's listed you as the father on the intake forms. We need you here immediately. Nathan stood so abruptly his chair rolled backward and hit the wall. I have to go, he said. His CFO stopped mid-word. The board stared. Nathan? His CFO tried. Cancel everything. His assistant appeared in the doorway, phone in hand, expression alarmed. Sir, you have the senator at 3 and the… Everything, Nathan repeated. Already moving toward the door, he adjusted his cufflinks again. Cancel everything. He was in the elevator before his brain caught up to what the voice had said. Wife. They'd been divorced for 6 months. Father, he had no idea Emily had been pregnant. Premature birth. His hands were shaking as he pulled out his phone in the back of his town car. The last text from Emily was from 7 months ago. The papers are signed. Please don't contact me again. He tried to do the math. 6 months divorced, 9 months pregnant. That meant his brain, which could model complex financial scenarios in his sleep, completely failed at basic arithmetic when it came to this. He called his lawyer before he could stop himself. Nathan, I'm in a deposition. Can an ex-wife list you as the father? Silence on the other end. Then, Nathan, is the baby yours? I don't know. He adjusted his cufflinks, even though he was alone in the car. Maybe. Probably. I'll call you back. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror. Mount Sinai, mister. Redhawk? Nathan realized he'd never actually said the destination. Yes, maternity ward. He paused. Do you know where that is? I'll find it, sir. The hospital receptionist looked up as Nathan approached, still wearing his $12,000 Tom Ford suit that was meant to intimidate corporate rivals, not navigate linoleum hallways that smelled like antiseptic and anxiety. I'm looking for Emily Morningstar, he said. I received a call. Are you the father? Nathan opened his mouth, closed it. I think so? The receptionist blinked at him. Actually blinked. It's complicated, Nathan tried. Most things are, she said mildly, typing something into her computer. I'll need to verify the address on file. What's listed for Ms. Morningstar? Nathan gave her the address of the apartment Emily had lived in during their marriage. He realized, with a sinking feeling, he had no idea if she still lived there. She could have moved. He wouldn't know. The receptionist nodded. NICU, 4th floor. You'll need to sanitize before entering. Remove all jewelry and accessories. She directed him to the elevator. As the doors closed, Nathan caught sight of his reflection. He looked like a man who'd just walked out of a board meeting, which he had, to meet a son he didn't know existed. He adjusted his cufflinks one more time. The NICU floor had different rules. A nurse stopped him at the entrance, handed him instructions printed on laminated cards. Sanitize for 3 minutes. Remove watch, rings, cufflinks, no phones inside. Nathan stripped off his Rolex. His wedding ring, he still wore it, had never quite gotten around to taking it off. His cufflinks, which he'd been adjusting compulsively since the phone call, he stared at them in his palm. 6 months of adjusting these things whenever he felt untethered. They seemed absurd now. A nurse handed him a surgical cap. First time? First time knowing I'm a father, yes. Her expression shifted, something between sympathy and amusement. Well, she said, congratulations. It's a crisis. He saw Emily through the window of a recovery room before she saw him. She looked destroyed. There was no other word for it. Pale, thin, dark circles carved under her eyes like bruises. Her hair, which she'd always kept perfectly styled, hung limp around her shoulders. The hospital gown made her look small in a way she'd never looked before. He'd known this woman for 8 years, married her for 5, divorced her 6 months ago. He'd never seen her look like this. She turned her head, met his gaze through the glass. Her expression didn't change. No surprise, no anger, just resignation. She'd known the hospital would call him. Nathan pushed open the door. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then Emily said, in a voice that sounded like she'd been screaming or crying, or both, his name is Alexander. He's 3 pounds, 2 ounces, born at 32 weeks. You were pregnant. It wasn't a question. When we divorced? Yes. Why didn't you? Because you were already gone, Nathan. She shifted in the bed, winced. You left long before the papers were signed. A nurse knocked, poked her head in. Mr. Redhawk, you can see your son now. Emily's voice was flat. He's in the NICU, third incubator on the left. Try not to look terrified. They say babies can sense fear. Fantastic, she added, but the word had no inflection, just exhaustion. Nathan wanted to argue, to demand answers, to understand how this had happened. But a nurse was waiting, and somewhere in this hospital was a 3-pound human who was apparently his son. He left the room with 1,000 questions and 0 answers. The NICU was quieter than Nathan expected. Machines beeped softly. Nurses moved with practiced efficiency. And everywhere, tiny babies in plastic boxes fighting to survive. Alexander was in the third incubator on the left, exactly as Emily had said. Nathan stopped breathing. He'd negotiated billion-dollar mergers without flinching, faced down hostile takeovers with cold precision, built an empire on calculated risks and controlled outcomes. None of it had prepared him for this. Alexander was impossibly small. Tubes everywhere, wires monitoring things Nathan didn't understand. His skin was nearly translucent, his chest rising and falling in rapid, shallow movements. You can touch him, a nurse said softly. Through the portal. He needs to feel you. Nathan's hand shook as he reached through the opening in the incubator. His finger found Alexander's palm. The tiny fingers wrapped around his. Something in Nathan's chest cracked open. Not broke, opened. Like a door he didn't know he'd sealed shut. I didn't know I could feel this, he thought. And then, immediately after, how could I not have known? How could I have missed this entire thing? But he knew the answer. He'd been too busy, too focused, too gone, exactly like Emily said. Alexander's fingers tightened around his. Nathan stood there, wearing a surgical cap and his Tom Ford suit pants, crying for the first time in 15 years. The penthouse had looked perfect in Architectural Digest. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, minimalist furniture that cost more than most people's cars. Art carefully selected by Emily, back when she still cared enough to select things for their shared space. From the outside, Nathan and Emily Redhawk looked like the ideal power couple. Inside, they were strangers who happened to share an address. Emily sat at the breakfast table alone, scrolling through emails about a gallery acquisition. Potential Rothko piece. The seller was being difficult, but she could work with difficult. Difficult was better than absent. She'd made coffee for 2, out of habit. Nathan sat untouched at his usual spot. He was in his study. She could hear him on a call. 6 a.m. Conference with Tokyo. He'd been up since 4. They passed each other in the hallway 20 minutes later. Morning, Nathan said. Morning, Emily replied. That was it. That was the entire conversation. Emily looked at the cold coffee, thought about dumping it out, and instead just walked away. 3 weeks later, Emily's gallery was hosting an opening for a new artist. She'd been working toward this for months. A young painter from Atlanta whose work captured grief without sentimentality, beauty without pretension. Emily stood in front of one of the pieces, explaining to a collector, "Look at the brushwork here. He's using the negative space to create emotional weight. It's subtle, but that's the point." "Grief isn't loud." The collector nodded, impressed. "You have an excellent eye. Thank you." Emily moved to adjust the lighting on another piece, shifted it 3 degrees to the left. Better. She did this instinctively now, seeing what needed adjustment, fixing it. If only marriages were as simple as gallery lighting. A young artist approached nervously. "Ms. Morningstar, I wanted to ask," the piece in the back corner, "do you think it's working?" Emily walked with her, considered the painting. "It's working," she said honestly, "but it's working quietly. Not every piece needs to shout. This one trusts the viewer to come to it." The artist looked relieved. Emily felt for a few hours like herself, not Nathan's wife, not the woman waiting alone in a too-big apartment, just Emily Morningstar, curator, someone who knew things, someone who mattered in this small, specific way. Her phone buzzed. "Nathan, can't make it tonight, sorry." The collector from earlier approached. "Everything okay?" Emily rearranged the brochures on the front table, aligning them perfectly. "Fantastic," she said flatly. It was her word now. Fantastic, when nothing was fantastic at all. Her friend Maya suggested therapy over lunch the next week. "Just think about it," Maya said. "Couples therapy, it might help." "What's the point?" Emily pushed her salad around. "You can't therapize someone into being present." "But you still love him." "I love who I thought he was." Emily set down her fork. "That person doesn't exist." But she mentioned it to Nathan anyway, that night, over breakfast, which was the only time they were reliably in the same room. "I think we should try therapy," she said. Nathan looked up from his phone. "If you think it will help, Do you think it will help? I think he set the phone down. Actually set it down. I think we should try. Emily felt a small flicker of something. Not hope exactly. Just less hopelessness. They went to one session. One. The therapist was gentle, asking basic questions about their communication patterns, their history, what brought them together. Nathan's phone buzzed 3 times during the hour. He didn't answer it, but Emily could see the effort it took. At the end, the therapist said, "For next week, I want you to try reconnecting. No pressure. Just be together. See what happens." They scheduled the next session. Nathan canceled it 4 days later. Emergency board meeting. Emily didn't reschedule. But that night, the night before he was supposed to cancel, they tried. It was awkward, sad, desperate in a way that made Emily's chest hurt. "When's the last time we just talked?" she asked, lying next to him in the dark. "I don't know," Nathan said. They had sex. Not passionate, not romantic, just trying to find each other again, trying to remember what it felt like to be connected. Afterward, silence. Nathan's phone buzzed on the nightstand. Emily watched him reach for it. "Of course," she said quietly. "I'm sorry, it's just—" "I know." Emily stared at the ceiling. "It's always just." He put the phone down, but the damage was done. This was their last attempt. They both knew it. Neither of them knew that in that failed attempt, they'd created something that would force them back together. The next morning was almost peaceful, in a sad way. Emily made breakfast, eggs, toast, the same breakfast she'd made 1,000 times. Nathan came down, looking uncertain. They ate in silence for a few minutes. "The eggs are good," Emily finally said. "You always make good eggs." She set down her fork. "That's probably the nicest thing you've said to me in months." Nathan looked stricken. Emily laughed, not happy but not entirely bitter either. That wasn't an accusation, just an observation. "Emily, it's okay, Nathan. I think we both know." He nodded. They finished breakfast. It was sad, but there was a strange peace in finally admitting defeat. 2 weeks later, Emily asked for a divorce over this same table. Nathan didn't fight it. "Is there someone else?" he asked. "No, there's just no one here. I've been building the company for us, for our future." "We don't have a future." Emily looked at him directly. "We have a merger. That's all this has been for 2 years." The divorce papers arrived. A week later, Emily signed them. Nathan signed them. His lawyer handled everything with typical efficiency. It was the most painless ending to something that had stopped living long before it died. 8 weeks after the divorce was finalized, Emily woke up nauseous. She thought it was stress. Gallery finances were tight. She'd been eating badly, sleeping worse. But the nausea didn't stop. She bought a pregnancy test on the way home from work, took it in her bathroom, and stared at the 2 lines. Pregnant. She sat on the bathroom floor and tried to remember the exact date of that last attempt. 8 weeks ago. Math worked out perfectly. They'd made a baby while trying to save their marriage. And it still wasn't enough. The irony was crushing. At her first OB appointment, the doctor asked, "Have you told the father?" "We're divorced." He still has a right. He has a right to a child he didn't want with a woman he barely noticed." Emily's voice was sharper than intended. "No, he doesn't." The doctor didn't push. Emily made her decision sitting in that office. She'd do this alone. She'd been alone, anyway, even when they were married. This was just more honest. 5 months pregnant, Emily sat on her apartment floor, surrounded by baby books. Her hand rested on her belly. "So, kid," she said out loud, "it's just you and me, which is fine. I'm good at alone." Pause. "Okay, that sounded sad. I'm not sad, I'm determined. There's a difference." She started arranging the books by color, then by size, then by subject. "Your mom's a control freak." "Sorry about that, but at least you'll always have organized bookshelves." She laughed at herself. "I'm talking to my stomach. This is my life now. Fantastic." She patted her belly. "You're going to be so loved, though, I promise you that." And she meant it. Whatever else was broken, whatever else had failed, she meant that completely. 6 months pregnant, the gallery finances got worse. A major collector pulled out of a sale. Her rent was going up. New York was expensive when you were building a career alone. The email from Boston came at the perfect time. Gallery director position, better salary, benefits, stability. She saved it, read it multiple times, started imagining a different life. "What about the baby's father?" Maya asked over coffee. "He doesn't know, and he doesn't need to." "Oh, Emily, I'm serious, Maya. He's building his empire. I'm building a life for this baby. Those are separate things now." Maya didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. Emily hung a painting later that day, 6 months pregnant, refusing help from her assistant. Classic Emily. Doing everything alone, because that's what she knew how to do. That's what had always worked before. Nathan returned to the hospital the next morning with a plan, He'd spent the entire night researching. Best neonatologist in the country, cutting-edge NICU treatments, private room options. He had a list, he had solutions. He reached to adjust his cufflinks. He was wearing casual clothes, no cufflinks, and felt even more unmoored. Emily was already at Alexander's incubator. Nathan recognized the movement before he fully registered what she was doing. Rearranging the blankets, straightening them, adjusting the small stuffed animal a nurse must have given her. She did that when she was stressed. Rearranged things, fixed things, controlled what she could control. "I've arranged for Dr. Richardson from Johns Hopkins to consult," Nathan said without preamble. Emily didn't look up. Alexander already has an excellent doctor, but Richardson is the best in the country for... Nathan, you can't buy your way into being a good father. A nurse passing by tried very hard not to smile. "Mr. Redhawk?" Nathan turned. A doctor stood there, mid-30s, slightly rumpled, lab coat, with what appeared to be a fresh coffee stain on the right shoulder. "I'm Dr. Miles Chen, Alexander's attending neonatologist. I want a full assessment of all available treatment options," Nathan started. "Alexander has a PDA, patent ductus arteriosus. His heart is being a little rebellious." "Doctor." Chen smiled slightly. "We're monitoring it closely. May need intervention, may resolve on its own. What's the success rate of..." "Mr. Redhawk." Dr. Chen's voice was kind but firm. "Your son is not a quarterly report. There are no guaranteed ROs here." Emily made a sound. Nathan glanced over. She was smiling. Actually smiling, for the first time since he'd arrived. She liked this doctor. Dr. Chen continued, "Alexander is stable. He's a fighter. We're watching our tiny troublemaker closely. Right now, the best thing you can do is be present, hold him, talk to him, let him know you're here." Nathan adjusted imaginary cufflinks again. "I know this is scary," Dr. Chen added, "but you're in good hands. Alexander's in good hands. Trust us." An hour later, a nurse approached Nathan. "Would you like to try kangaroo care?" "What's that?" "Skin-to-skin contact. It helps regulate the baby's temperature, heart rate. It's good for both of you." "Now?" The nurse gave him a look. "Unless you have a board meeting to get to?" Nathan removed his shirt in the middle of the NICU, feeling completely absurd. He sat in the recliner, bare-chested, and the nurse carefully placed Alexander on his chest. Nathan froze. He was terrified to breathe, terrified to move, terrified to exist. Alexander made a small sound. "Is that normal?" Nathan whispered. "He's sleeping," the nurse said. "You're doing fine." "I don't feel like I'm doing fine." Across the room, Emily was watching. Nathan caught her eye. Something in her expression softened. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just acknowledgement. They were both in over their heads. 2 days later, a delivery truck showed up at Emily's apartment. She signed for 3 large boxes, confused, then saw the return label. Nordstrom. She called Nathan. "Did you send me a $3,000 stroller?" "It has the highest safety ratings." "Nathan, he can't even breathe on his own yet. He doesn't need a stroller for at least 2 months." "I'm trying to help." "Then be here, not UPS." "Fantastic," she muttered, staring at the stroller box in her tiny living room. She kept it, though. And when Nathan tried to also send an $800 baby monitor, she made him return it. "The hospital has monitors," she said. "Use your money for something useful, like therapy." Nathan wasn't sure if she was joking. Nathan learned the NICU rhythms, rounds at 8 a.m., and feeding times every 3 hours, quiet hours in the afternoon. He started showing up daily, wearing increasingly casual clothes, khakis, button-downs without ties. One morning, a father about his age nodded at him by the coffee machine. "First kid?" the man asked. "First, everything," Nathan said. They shared the terrible hospital coffee in companionable silence. "It gets easier," the man said eventually. "The fear doesn't go away, but you learn to breathe around it." Nathan nodded. Everyone here was scared. Everyone was trying. He wasn't special. He was just another terrified parent doing his best. A week into Alexander's NICU stay, Emily noticed a young woman standing outside the entrance, crying silently. The woman looked early 20s, alone, completely overwhelmed. Emily walked over. "First day?" The woman nodded, couldn't speak. "It's the worst day," Emily said. "And also the best day, because at least they're here and fighting. Come on, I'll show you the secret bathroom, where you can cry, without nurses checking on you every 3 minutes." The woman laughed through tears. Emily walked with her, explained the routines, the machines, how to ask questions without feeling stupid. "The terror never fully goes away," Emily said, "but you learn to breathe around it." The woman looked grateful. "How do you do it alone? I see you here every day." "And the baby's father." Emily glanced across the NICU at Nathan, who was reading something on his phone by Alexander's incubator. "I'm figuring that out," she said quietly. That afternoon, Alexander's oxygen levels dropped during feeding. Alarms went off. Nurses rushed over. Emily froze, couldn't move, could barely breathe. Her hand shot out, grabbing the edge of the incubator, the same spot she always touched. Her superstition. And held on. Nathan appeared beside her, hand on her shoulder. She didn't pull away. Doctor. Chen arrived, checked the monitors. The coffee stain was on his left pocket today. He's okay, doctor, Chen said. Just got a little too excited about eating, classic rebel move. The crisis passed in 2 minutes, but Emily was shaking. Nathan's hand stayed on her shoulder. I'm here, he said quietly. I'm not going anywhere. Emily didn't answer, but she didn't pull away either. You say that now, she thought. But for how long? You can't just show up whenever, Emily said on day 10. We need a schedule. But Nathan looked up from Alexander's incubator. A schedule. He's my son, too. Exactly. So let's be adults about this. Nathan pulled out his phone calendar. I've been thinking, a rotating schedule would... Emily stared at him. Are you seriously trying to schedule fatherhood? Structure is good for... He's a baby, Nathan, not a board meeting. They agreed on flexible hours, which helped no one and satisfied neither of them. Dr. Chen walked by, coffee stain on his collar today. You two still bicker like a married couple. Oh, wait. Emily gave him a look. Dr. Chen raised his hands. I'm just saying. That tiny rebel in there is lucky to have 2 parents who care enough to argue about schedules. The next day, an expensive flower arrangement appeared at Emily's NICU bay. She stared at it, started rearranging the stems immediately, stress habit kicking in. Nathan, she said when he arrived an hour later, I'm in a hospital, recovering from a C-section, with a critically ill baby. I thought they might cheer you up. They look like funeral flowers. They're peonies, your favorite. Were my favorite, 5 years ago. Nathan's expression fell. I didn't know you changed. Fantastic. The word came out flat. A nurse whispered to Dr. Chen, did he just send flowers to a NICU? Dr. Chen whispered back, points for effort, 0 for awareness. At 2 a.m., both Nathan and Emily ended up in the NICU at the same time. Emily saw him first. I thought you'd be at a hotel. I thought you'd be resting. They sat in the hallway with terrible vending machine coffee. Nathan handed her one without asking. It was becoming their thing. Silence. Not hostile, just exhausted. I didn't know you were scared of hospitals, Nathan said eventually. How did you... Your hand shakes when you sanitize. Every time. Emily was quiet for a moment. My mom died in a hospital when I was 12. Nathan set down his coffee. I didn't know that. You never asked. The words hung there. Not accusatory, just true. They sat in silence for another 10 minutes before Emily went back to her room and Nathan stayed outside Alexander's incubator until sunrise. Nathan tried again a few days later. When's the last time you had a real meal? He asked. Hospital cafeteria this morning. I mean, a real meal. Let me take you to dinner. Emily stared at him. Nathan, our son is in intensive care. The nurses said you should take breaks. A break is sleeping in an actual bed, not a date. It's not a date. It's just food. Read the room, Nathan. He backed off, embarrassed. Reached to adjust cufflinks that weren't there, made it worse. But there were good moments, too. Like when Nathan tried to burp Alexander after tube feeding, holding him like he was defusing a bomb. The nurse said, pat his back gently. Nathan patted once, barely touching him. You're not defusing a missile, Mr. Red Hawk? Alexander spit up, all over Nathan's $200 shirt. Emily, watching from the next chair, tried not to laugh. Nathan looked down at the spit up, then at Emily. She was trying so hard not to laugh. This is dry clean only, he said. Emily lost it. Actually laughed. Genuine, warm, the first real laugh he'd heard from her in months. Nathan started smiling too. Welcome to fatherhood, Emily managed. And for one moment, they weren't divorced. They weren't fighting. They were just 2 people, learning to parent together, bonding over baby spit up. Emily's gallery assistant called in crisis mode. The collectors pulled out. We need this sale, or we're in trouble. Emily was in the NICU waiting room. I'll handle it from here. She opened her laptop, started making calls, typing emails. Exhausted, but determined. Nathan overheard, from across the room, said nothing. Later that day, Emily received an email from the Red Hawk Foundation, a donation to her gallery's nonprofit fund, not anonymous. Clearly from him. She stared at the screen, emotions warring, grateful, angry, confused. She didn't thank him, but she didn't reject it either. You're handling this really well, Nathan said a few days later, watching Emily work with the nurses. Emily paused. What? All of this. You're stronger than I expected. Emily froze. Than you expected? What did you expect? Nathan, That I'd fall apart? That's not what I've been handling things alone my entire life. This isn't new. I didn't mean you never do. She walked away, rearranging the magazines in the waiting room as she passed. But then there was the feeding schedule argument. Nathan had researched. Every 3 hours was recommended for Alexander's weight. Emily insisted. Every 2.5 hours based on what she'd read. They'd been debating it for days. Finally, a nurse settled it. Dr. Chen says every 3 hours. Emily paused. Actually paused. You were right, she said quietly. Nathan looked stunned. What? You were right. About the feeding schedule. Nathan seemed almost afraid to acknowledge it. Yes, I was. Don't get used to it. Wouldn't dream of it. Emily actually smiled. Fantastic. Yes, but this time it was almost playful. They argued about everything. Alexander versus Alex, when to hold him, how to hold him, whether the room was too cold. A nurse finally interrupted. The baby doesn't care what you call him as long as you both show up. Doctor. Chen walked past, tiny rebel in his vocabulary, coffee stain on his sleeve today. Seriously, you two need couples therapy. We tried that, Emily said, so it didn't work. Try harder, doctor. Chen said cheerfully and kept walking. Then Alexander gained weight. 3 pounds, 8 ounces, Dr. Chen announced. Coffee stain on both shoulders today. Excellent progress, Emily exhaled. Her hand touched Alexander's incubator, her spot, her superstition. So he's okay? Nathan asked. He's a fighter, like both his parents, apparently. Emily and Nathan looked at each other. For a moment, they were on the same side of something. For a moment, it felt like maybe they could do this. The nurse suggested they try dual kangaroo care. Both parents, skin to skin, with Alexander between them. They sat side by side in recliners. It was awkward, intimate, strange. This is weird, Emily said. Very, Nathan agreed. But Alexander settled between them, his heart rate stabilizing, his tiny body relaxing. They sat like that for an hour, barely speaking. Emily fell asleep on Nathan's shoulder. He didn't move. Didn't want to wake her. Noticed that she'd stopped rearranging things, stopped fidgeting, just breathed. Emily found Nathan in the waiting room the next day reading What to Expect the First Year, and he'd highlighted passages, taken notes in the margins. Are you studying fatherhood? Emily asked. I like to be prepared. It's not a test, Nathan. Everything's a test. She sat next to him, read over his shoulder. You highlighted trust your instincts. I don't have instincts for this. Neither do I. We're both faking it. Nathan looked at her. That's oddly comforting. Don't tell anyone. Emily almost smiled. I have a reputation as a competent adult to maintain. Waiting for test results one afternoon, Emily broke. I can't think about Alexander's oxygen levels anymore. My brain is breaking. What do you want to think about? Nathan asked. Anything. Literally anything else. Pause. What's your favorite movie? Nathan asked. Emily blinked. Are you seriously asking me about movies right now? You said anything. The Princess Bride. Really? What, you thought I'd say something pretentious? A little, Nathan admitted. I can be pretentious about art and like a fun movie. Emily leaned back. What about you? The Godfather. Yeah, of course it is. What does that mean? It means you're exactly the kind of person who says The Godfather. It's a good movie. It's a great movie. It's also the most obvious answer. They argued about movies for 20 minutes, debated whether Die Hard was a Christmas movie, whether sequels ever lived up to originals, whether anyone actually enjoyed Fellini or just pretended to. It was the most normal conversation they'd had in years. Dr. Chen cleared Emily to go home for a few hours. Real rest, he insisted. Nathan stayed with Alexander. He texted later. Have you eaten? Emily. Hospital cafeteria food for 3 weeks straight. Nathan. I've been thinking I could send something over. Delivery arrived at her apartment an hour later. Thai food from her favorite place. The place they used to go to together. Before everything fell apart. He remembered. She texted back, thank you. Nathan. It's just food. But they both knew it wasn't just food. Sitting by Alexander's incubator that night, Nathan slowly reached for Emily's hand. She noticed. Pulled her hand away to adjust her hair, then rearranged the blanket in Alexander's incubator. Nathan pretended he'd just been reaching for his coffee. Awkward silence. Nathan, Emily said. It's fine. I know what you were doing. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just don't. She wasn't ready. Maybe would never be ready, but at least she was honest about it. Emily found Nathan reading to Alexander the next day. Reading the Wall Street Journal. Really? She said. Stock reports? They say he can hear me. I don't know what else to say. Try talking to him, like a person. What do I say? Emily sat down. Tell him about your day, your life, anything real. Nathan tried. I had a meeting today about fiber optics. Very boring. You'd hate it. Alexander made a small sound. See? Nathan said. Even he thinks it's boring. Emily smiled. You're getting better at this. And he was, slowly, imperfectly, but he was trying. I need air, Emily said one afternoon. This place is suffocating. Want company? She shrugged. Which Nathan had learned meant yes. They took the elevator to the roof. Emily led him to a small garden area most people didn't know about. Benches, some plants, view of the city. I found this last week, Emily said, when I needed to cry without nurses watching. They sat. It's nice, Nathan said. It's quiet. For the first time, they sat in comfortable silence. No fighting. No awkwardness. Just breathing. Emily wasn't rearranging anything, wasn't fixing anything. Just sitting still. Sometimes I come up here, Emily said, and pretend none of this is happening. Does it work? No, but it helps. They stayed there for 30 minutes, watching the city, not solving anything, just existing in the same space without conflict. It felt like progress. Then Nathan asked the question he shouldn't have. Can I ask you something? Emily tensed. That depends on what it is. Why didn't you tell me about Alexander? She was quiet for a long time. Because I couldn't trust that you'd choose us, and I couldn't handle being right. I would have. Would you, really? Emily stood, started straightening the plants in a nearby planter, stress habit returning. Or would you have done exactly what you're doing now, trying to fix it with money and schedules while still living at the office? Nathan had no answer. That's what I thought, Emily said. She walked back inside, leaving Nathan alone on the rooftop, staring at the city and realizing she was absolutely right. The call came while Emily was pumping in the NICU lactation room. Miss Morningstar, this is Catherine Walsh from the Boston Contemporary Gallery. We'd like to offer you the director position. Emily's hand stilled on the pump. The salary is competitive, benefits are comprehensive, and we're excited about your vision for the space. I thought I'd thank you, Emily managed. Can I have a few days to consider? Of course. We'll send the formal offer by email. Emily sat there after the call ended, milk pumping automatically, mind racing. Boston, fresh start, better salary, stability, away from Nathan, away from this complicated mess, away from the rooftop garden and terrible hospital coffee, and the man who was finally, possibly trying. Fantastic, she thought. Nathan brought her another expensive art book 2 days later. I've been thinking. You might like this, he said. Emily flipped through it. Minimalist sculpture, cold geometric, nothing like her work. Did you even look inside? The gallery owner said it was the best. It's about minimalist sculpture. Nathan, I curate romantic realism. I thought, art is art, Emily softened slightly. That's like saying all business is the same. She rearranged the books on the waiting room table. It's a nice gesture, but you can't just buy things and hope they mean something. Late afternoon, both exhausted, they ended up in adjacent chairs at Alexander's Bay. I'm too tired to be angry at you right now, Emily said. Nathan almost laughed. That's probably the nicest thing you've said to me in weeks. Fantastic. They sat in silence. Not hostile, not friendly, just two people who'd run out of energy for anything else. Do you want coffee? Nathan asked. The terrible vending machine kind? Is there any other kind in this place? Yes, please. He brought her the same bad coffee he always brought. She drank it. It wasn't intimacy. It was just routine, but routine felt like something. Nathan overheard the Boston conversation the next day. Emily on her phone. I'll think about the Boston offer seriously. It's a good opportunity. He froze, adjusted his cufflinks. He was wearing them today. Had a meeting later. Boston. She was leaving. Taking Alexander, he confronted her immediately. Boston? You were eavesdropping? You're planning to move my son across state lines? I'm planning my future, which I'm allowed to do. We should discuss. We don't discuss anything. I make my own decisions. That's how this works. Nathan called his lawyer that night. What are my parental rights if Emily wants to relocate? You're on the birth certificate? Yes. Then you have equal custody rights. If she tries to relocate without agreement, I'm not trying to fight her. I just want to know my options. His lawyer sent an email outlining everything. Accidentally CC'd it to the hospital administrator, listed on Alexander's intake forms. The administrator mentioned it to a nurse. The nurse mentioned it to Emily. Nathan showed up the next morning with decaf coffee. He'd researched, noticed she'd switched. I know you're angry, but can we talk? He said. You brought me coffee? After calling your lawyer on me? I brought decaf. I noticed you switched. Congratulations on finally noticing something. She took the coffee, took one sip, threw it in the trash. Emily, we have nothing to talk about. Fantastic, she added bitterly. The real confrontation happened that afternoon. You called your lawyer? On me? I was just controlling the situation, like you always do? You're talking about taking my son away. Your son? Emily's voice rose. Where were you 9 months ago? Where were you when I was alone and scared and pregnant with your child? I didn't know. Because you never looked. Emily was rearranging everything in reach, blankets, charts, magazines. You were too busy being Nathan Redhawk, CEO, to notice your wife was falling apart. Silence. Is that really what you think of me? Nathan asked quietly. It's what I know. Dr. Chen found them in the hallway, coffee stains on both shoulders today. I need both of you to stop. As this doesn't concern... Alexander's heart rate jumped 15% when you raised your voices. So, yes, it concerns me. They both fell silent. You know what I love about my job? Dr. Chen said. Tiny humans who can't talk yet. You know what I hate? Adults who should know better, but argue like teenagers. Emily almost smiled despite herself. Here's what's going to happen, Dr. Chen continued. You're both going to separate corners, you're going to breathe, and you're going to remember that you both love that tiny rebel in there more than you hate each other. We don't, Nathan started. Oh, you don't hate each other? Could have fooled me. Dr. Chen pointed. Go. Separate corners. I'll call you when you can act like grown-ups. As they separated, Dr. Chen muttered, why did I go into medicine? I could have been an accountant. Numbers don't yell. Nathan sat in the hospital chapel. Emily cried in the parking garage. Neither apologized yet, but both were thinking. Late that night, Nathan sat alone with Alexander. He touched the same spot on the incubator Emily always touched. Had started doing it himself without realizing. I don't know how to do this, he whispered. Your mother is right. I don't know how to be here without trying to control everything. He touched Alexander's tiny hand. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I didn't know. I'm sorry I'm so bad at this. A nurse passed by, heard him, said nothing, but her expression was kind. Nathan realized apologizing to Alexander wasn't enough. He needed to actually change. Dr. Chen had no coffee stains when he called them both in. That's how they knew it was serious. Alexander's PDA isn't closing on its own. We need surgery. Emily went pale. How dangerous. Every surgery on a preemie carries risks, but without it, his heart will fail. When? Nathan asked. Tomorrow morning? Emily's legs gave out. Nathan caught her. For once, she let him. Neither of them could sleep that night. They ended up in the NICU together at 3 a.m. I'm terrified, Emily whispered. Me too. What if something goes wrong? It won't. You can't promise that. No, Nathan said quietly. I can't. Silence. Emily, about Boston. I was wrong. To call the lawyer, to try to control you. We can't talk about this now. When can we talk about it? After. Emily's voice broke. If there is an after. They wheeled Alexander to surgery at 7 a.m. Emily kissed his tiny head. Nathan touched his hand. Both touched their spot on his blanket, their shared superstition now. Then, waiting. 3 hours, they said, maybe 4. Nathan and Emily in the waiting room. Other NICU parents offering quiet support. Nathan brought Emily coffee without asking. She actually drank it. They didn't talk much, just waited together. Hour 2, Emily broke. I can't think about what's happening in there. I can't. What do you want to think about? Your gallery work. Tell me about it. Nathan blinked. My work? I don't care. Just talk to me about something else, please. And so Nathan asked about the new artist she'd been considering, and Emily's voice got stronger as she described the work, the technique, the vision, why it mattered. For 10 minutes, they weren't terrified parents. They were two people talking about art. Then a nurse walked by, and they both tensed. False alarm. But it had helped, remembering there was a world outside this crisis. Nathan went to the chapel. He wasn't religious, hadn't been since childhood, but he prayed anyway. I don't know if you're listening. I don't know if I deserve to be heard, but please, please let him be okay. I'll do anything. I'll be better. Just let him live. Emily found him there, sat next to him without a word. He took her hand. She didn't pull away. They sat like that, not rearranging, not adjusting, not fixing anything, just still together. Dr. Chen emerged in surgical scrubs. No coffee stains. Emily and Nathan stood simultaneously. The surgery went well. Emily collapsed into tears. Nathan exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. He'll be in recovery for several hours. Critical period is the next 48 hours, but his vitals are strong. Can we see him? Nathan asked. Soon, let the anesthesia wear off. Thank you, Emily managed. Thank you so much. When they finally saw Alexander, he was surrounded by even more tubes than before, but alive, healing. They stood by his incubator. The relief was so intense it hurt. Emily started laughing. Not funny, just pure relief. What? Nathan asked. I don't know. We did it. He did it. Nathan started laughing too. Exhausted, punch-drunk laughter. Your tie is backwards, Emily said. Nathan looked down. I haven't changed clothes in 2 days. You smell like hospital coffee and fear. You smell like hospital coffee and fear too. They laughed harder. A nurse looked concerned. Are you two okay? We have no idea, Emily said. Then she started crying again, softer, touching Alexander's spot on the incubator. Relief and terror and hope all mixed together. When they calmed down, Emily touched Alexander's hand through the portal. He's so small, she whispered. He's strong, Nathan said, like his mother. I can't do this alone anymore, Nathan. You don't have to. But what if you leave again? I won't. You did before. I know, Nathan's voice cracked. And I will regret that for the rest of my life. Not resolution, not forgiveness, but truth. Week 6 to 7, NICU, Alexander came off the ventilator. First time breathing fully on his own, Emily cried with relief. Nathan held Alexander, tears in his eyes. Doctor. Chen confirmed. He's still got a few weeks here, but yes, he's going to be okay. The coffee stains were back, left elbow today. Emily watched Nathan hold their son, something shifting in her chest. She wasn't rearranging anything, just watching, just feeling. Week 7. Nathan called his board. I'm stepping back. CFO will handle day-to-day operations. Nathan, you've worked 20 years, and I almost lost everything that matters. He didn't quit, but he set boundaries. 9 to 5. Weekends off. His assistant was shocked when he left at 5 p.m. I have somewhere to be, he said. He put his cufflinks in a drawer, wouldn't need them as much anymore. Week 8. Alexander finally went home, to Emily's apartment, not Nathan's penthouse. Doctor. Chen did the final check. You two did good. My favorite tiny rebel graduated with honors, and Nathan helped carry everything. You don't have to stay, Emily said. I know, but can I? Yes. First night home was terrifying and wonderful. They took shifts, fumbled through everything together. Nathan no longer adjusted imaginary cufflinks. He wore casual clothes now, looked more relaxed than Emily had seen him in years. Month 4, Nathan arrived at Emily's apartment early one day, found her sketching at the kitchen table, Alexander sleeping nearby, Emily drawing him quick, delicate pencil lines. I didn't know you drew, Nathan said. I don't, not really. I just wanted to remember this exactly. She showed him other sketches, the NICU, the rooftop garden, Alexander's tiny hand. I started in the hospital when I couldn't sleep. These are beautiful. You should frame them. They're just scribbles. They're not. Emily arranged the sketches by date. Maybe, she said quietly. Month 5. I've been thinking, Nathan started. Emily looked up. Your phrase. My company's art foundation needs a director. Nathan. It's not charity. You're overqualified. But it's in New York, so you wouldn't have to move. This is manipulation. It's an option. Take Boston if you want, but I wanted you to know there's another choice. 2 weeks later, Emily emailed Boston. Staying in New York, she took the foundation job. Flexible hours. Good work. Could be with Alexander. She didn't tell Nathan it was because of him, but he knew anyway. Month 6, late evening, Alexander finally asleep. Emily and Nathan exhausted on her couch. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Emily asked. What? Die Hard. Christmas movie or not? Why are you asking me this? Because if I think about sleep schedules one more second, I'll scream. So, Die Hard. They argued about it for 20 minutes, then debated whether sequels ever worked, whether anyone actually liked avant-garde film, or just pretended. Alexander woke up crying. Fantastic, Emily said, but she was smiling. Pediatrician appointment, 6 months in. He's perfect. You'd never know he was premature. Walking out, a stranger said, Your son is beautiful. Emily and Nathan exchanged a look. Didn't correct the assumption. Want to grab lunch? Nathan asked. Okay. It wasn't a date, but it felt like one. Month 7, late night, Alexander asleep. I'm afraid I'll believe you've changed, and then you'll go back to who you were, Emily said. I can't promise I'll be perfect. I don't need perfect. I need present. I'm here, every day. I'll keep showing up. For how long? However long it takes for you to believe me. That could be years. Then I'll be here for years. Month 8. I've been thinking, Nathan started. Dangerous. What if we got a place together? Not mine, not yours. Ours. Emily froze. I'm not asking you to marry me again. I'm asking if we can try. As a family. I don't know if I'm ready. No, that's okay. I'll wait. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. 3 weeks later, Emily said yes. 1 year later, Alexander's first birthday party was small. Emily's friends, Nathan's sister, Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen had cake on his shirt, not coffee for once. Alexander was healthy, laughing, trying to walk. Nathan helped him toddle across the floor. You two look happy, Emily's friend said. We're getting there. Are you back together? We're together, but differently. Better, I think. They'd moved into a new apartment 3 months ago. Not hers, not his, theirs. Smaller than his penthouse. Bigger than her studio. Emily designed it. Nathan funded it. Compromise. Emily's sketches were framed on the walls. Alexander's room was part practical, part beautiful. It felt like home. Sunday morning, Nathan making pancakes badly, Emily with coffee, Alexander in his high chair, making a spectacular mess. You're burning those, Emily said. I know. I'm bad at pancakes. You're bad at most domestic things. Good thing I have you. Good thing. Nathan wasn't wearing cufflinks. Hadn't in months. Emily arranged Alexander's toys while they talked. Old habit, but gentler now. That night, Alexander asleep, they talked. Do you ever think about how it could have been different? Emily asked. All the time. I'm not sure I've forgiven you fully. I know. But I'm trying. That's all I can ask for. I'm scared sometimes that we're making a mistake. Me too. Nathan took her hand. Not nervous adjustment, just connection. But I'd rather make mistakes with you than be right alone. They went back to the hospital for Alexander's 1-year checkup. Dr. Chen confirmed. Perfect. Completely healthy. You'd never know he was a preemie. My favorite, tiny rebel, graduated with honors. After the appointment, they went to the rooftop garden. Their place. Alexander on Nathan's hip, looking at the city. Remember when we didn't think we'd make it here? Emily asked. Which here? To this garden? Or to this life? Both. Yeah, I remember. Alexander reached for Emily. She took him. The three of them stood there, looking at the city. Emily touched the same bench where they'd first sat together. Nathan? Yeah? I'm glad you answered the phone. Me too. Fantastic, she said. But this time she meant it. They walked back inside, Alexander between them, each parent holding one of his hands. Not perfect. Not healed from everything, but together. A family built, not from a perfect beginning, but from showing up day after day through the hardest moments. A family that learned that love isn't about never making mistakes. It's about choosing to stay, even when staying is hard. The end. A small thought to sit with. There's something about unexpected phone calls that changes everything. 1 minute you're in a board meeting, and the next you're holding a 3-pound human who doesn't care about your quarterly projections. This story isn't about perfect people fixing themselves. It's about imperfect people showing up, awkwardly, persistently, imperfectly, and discovering that showing up is sometimes enough. Emily and Nathan didn't get a Hollywood ending. They got a real one. One where old wounds still ache sometimes. Where trust has to be rebuilt inch by inch. Where I'm trying matters more than I'm perfect. And then because real love, the kind that lasts, isn't about grand gestures or expensive strollers. It's about terrible hospital coffee at 2 a.m. It's about learning to burp a baby together. It's about choosing presence over perfection. It's about a rooftop garden where two people learn to breathe again. Sometimes the best families aren't born from perfect beginnings. They're built from broken pieces, carefully glued back together with patience and time and the willingness to keep trying. Alexander won't remember the NICU, but he'll grow up knowing both his parents showed up, not perfectly, but persistently. And maybe that's what family really is. People who keep showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. This story is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental.